Machine Learning, Model Validation, Part 4. Train, Tune, Validate. Some people call it Train, Tune, Test if you want. So, some models use parameters that are not, or decision processes that have parameters that are not part of the model filtering algorithm, but they're involved in making decisions. For example, logistic regression. Here's a simple example, and we're actually going to do this in Python. You fit the model to the X and Y data. Once the model is fit for a new value of X, so a value that's in our holdout or that we've never seen before, we would calculate the probability of this new value given the old data, X, Y, and beta. So this would be our trained model. So we would plug in X, Y, and the betas that we fit, and we would get a probability out, and which is between 0 and 1. So it's not a 0 or a 1. So we need to turn it into a 0 or a 1. So we would then apply the rule if the probability is greater than C, then we'll say Y new equals 1. Otherwise, Y new is going to be 0. So this is going to be the outcome. The outcome will be 1 or 0 in this case, which it needs to be. Now, all software typically chooses C equals 1/2. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that, except that what if a different value of C produces a better confusion matrix? So after fitting the model and validating that the model works, then we tune C to give the best confusion matrix. Okay. And then using the fitted model, we would then, and the tuned value C, we would then see how well it performs in terms of predictive performance on another set. So this is going to require 3 sets of data. Okay. You're going to have a training data set, you're going to have a tuning data set, you're going to have a validation data set. So in your training data set, this is where you're going to find the model parameters using fitting. Okay. And in this step, this is where you could do k-fold cross-validation, all sorts of things to make sure that the model seems to work in terms of fitting and predicting itself reasonably well or as good as it can. Then, out of the model that you've chosen from there, you would fit a final model, and that's the one you would use. Then you would approach the tuning data set. So you would say, using the fitted model, I'm going to adjust these other parameters, which are often called hyperparameters, so that they produce the optimal performance. Okay, on this tuning data set, we're not fitting the model again here. We're just saying with this fitted model, let's adjust this to see if we can get even better performance. Okay, then once we've got better performance, well, that's on the tuning data set, and the value we chose there, we don't know how it would perform on a data set it's never seen. So there's where the third data set comes in, the test data set or validation data set. And this, you would produce an unbiased assessment of both the model and hyperparameter combination on performance. Now, this is very good to do if you have hyperparameters. If you don't have hyperparameters, then there's no point in doing this. Okay. But if there are hyperparameters in your model that you do need to adjust or could adjust to see if you can get a better fit or get better predictions, then absolutely you should do this. Now, for categorical variables, balancing needs to be addressed to ensure each study group has proportional number of each category. Okay, so how do I decide how to partition this stuff? Okay, so here's a general rules that you'll hear. They're all over the place. Okay, for a large data set, if you have a really large data set, then make 70% of it training, 15% tuning, 15% validation. I've also seen make it 70% training, 10% tuning, 20% validation. The idea is you've got a lot of data, so use most of it to get as much information into those parameters that are in the model as possible. Okay, then you can use the tuning to adjust the other parameters, and then use at least 10% to validate on. For a small data set, might be harder to do that. So you might choose 60% training, 20% tuning, 20% validation. Now, if you're going to do k-fold cross-validation, that should be done only at the training stage, okay, to get the best model. So if you're comparing across models, that's where you would do that, is in that first step. The tuning and validation steps, you don't do the K-fold again, even though it seems like K-fold sounds so good to do. You could do it, but it becomes increasingly difficult, and maybe if you get on a project where you really need to do it, you can go look that up and figure it out, because it's way beyond the scope of what we're trying to do. All right, so we're going to use the amps.csv dataset, and we'll jump over to Python. And I've got the code here. You should be able to get the code off of Canvas or GitHub, as well as the dataset. So here I'm going to do logistic regression just like we did before. I'm going to use train test split to break up my data set. And I'm going to use confusion matrix to determine whether or not I'm doing any good at this. So the first thing I have to do is make sure that I'm in the correct working directory, and I'm not. And I'm going to keep mentioning that to you, because if you're not in the correct working directory, things yell at you. Okay, run this, and everything seems to have run. I'm going to clear out the memory because the memory is still from the last time, and then I'll just run it again. Load everything again fresh. This just has amps and whether or not it failed. It's about a weld. Okay. Break the data up. X0, Y0. Going to pull out the column for amps. I'm going to pull out the column for fail. Why? Because I'm going to use this train test split twice. Okay. So here I'm going to make my X train, my X test, Y train, and Y test based off of these X0 and Y0. I'm going to pull out 60%, and that's going to be my training or test size, which is really weird because I made it really big. But let's make this training size. Train size will be 60%. And if I do this, and then I'm going to stratify. Now, this is the key here. Remember, I said balance things. If I stratify, you have to give it the variable that it needs to stratify against. Okay, so in this case, failure. I want to make sure that the same proportion of failures is in each of the groups that I make. So here I'm going to run this, and that's going to give me a broken up thing. So the training set's going to have 48 observations. The test set has 32 observations. Okay. So overall, we have 80 observations. That's what I said, small data set. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what came out of here as the test data set, and I'm going to break it again. So this gets put into train test split. Here I'm going to put in the test that came from here, and I'm going to take out I'm going to plug in the test, the Y test that came from here, and I'm going to stratify against Y test, and I'm going to split this one 50-50, and that will give me a 60-20-20 break. Okay, so you have to remember that you've taken out 40% of the data, and now you're splitting it 50-50. In this case, you can adjust it however you want, but this is going to break it again, and it's going to stratify it as well, which seems to be a whole lot easier than what we were doing before. It absolutely is, but I'm just trying to show you how to do this in a way that makes sense. Okay, you can double up on these. Okay, so I'm going to train the model on my training data set. X train, Y train, logistic regression, and I just made it into a data frame here. I could have made a data frame outside of it, but I said, I'll just do it right here. And you'll see that throughout. So here's my train step. Okay, I ran it. I now have it fit. Now I'm going to plug it in so that I can get a tuning set. And here I want to choose my threshold. So I'm going to have it predict probabilities. If you do predict by itself, it's going to give you a 1 or a 0 based off of a half. Okay, so I want to have it give me the probabilities, and you need to pay attention to what this looks like because you haven't seen this before, and we'll look at it here in just a second. So let's look at what this thing looks like. Okay, so this is here Y tune pred. And this, I grab the first column. If you look at the predictions by itself, it's 2 columns. Okay. One is the probability of 0, the other one is the probability of 1. So if you were to highlight this and run just this, it should pop it out in the console here. You're going to get 2 columns. Okay. This one is the probability of 0. This is the probability of 1. You can choose which one you want. I'm interested in the probability of 1, which happens to be this one here. Okay, so this is the one I'm after. That's why I pulled off the first column. Okay. Now that I have this, I can change my threshold here, and then I can look and see how it adjusts to my confusion matrix. And remember, we are in a space where we don't have a lot of observations. My tuning set only has 16 observations in it. So it's going to be hard to adjust it a whole lot. But I need to turn my probabilities into a yes or a no, because in my data set I have it whether it failed or not 0 or 1. Okay, but now I have probabilities here. So this is going to create a list in Python that is text. Okay, and I've got an if statement in it. It's going to be y if prob is greater than c, okay, 1. And you say, what's prob? And prob we'll see down here. Else n for prob in this value, this list. Okay, so probability is going to come from this specific values. Okay, and it's going to rotate through each and every one of them. It's going to do it like a for loop, because you can see for prob in this. So it's going to plug it in there, and it's going to give me a vector. And I'll just run this part. You can see what it pops out of. Nope, I didn't run the C1 first. See, I'll run the whole bit there, and then we can just look at it. So ypred C1 looks like this. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, whatever. Okay, and now we can do it as a confusion matrix. We can say, how well did we do? And notice that we don't have many observations, so it's hard to tell how well we did. Doesn't look great. Okay, but what happens if I change this? What if I change this to 0.4? How does that change the confusion matrix? So I can change the confusion matrix and I get a different one. I get 4 and 6 and 3 and 3 on the off axis, which means it made more mistakes. If I just add across the anti-diagonal here, so the non-diagonal, this is the diagonal, this is the off diagonal. If I add across that, I made 5 mistakes here. Here I made 6 mistakes, so that's worse. And then I can see, well, what does 0.6 do? And I can adjust this until I find the best value. And if you look online, ooh, look at that. If I made it 0.6, I get 6 correct, 1, and then here I ended up with only 4 mistakes. So 0.6 is doing a better job than 0.5 was. So you can keep adjusting this until you find the value that you like. I'm not going to keep going on with that because we need to keep moving forward. But my final custom threshold is going to be here. Okay, so I'm going to choose whatever value was up here. Make sure it's down there. Now I'm going to predict probabilities for my validation set, X validation. Remember, I chopped that up here. I have an X validation set and a Y validation set. Okay, now I'm going to apply it to here. So I'm going to generate probabilities here. Going to make sure I have my same cutoff value, my threshold. I'm going to apply it here in the validation set, the Y validation set. Okay, and then I'm going to compare the two. Okay, I call it Y val C1 because I'm using C1 on it. So if I run all of this here, this is the confusion matrix that I get here. Okay, 10 correct, 6 incorrect. Now this is on a small set, But you did notice that tuning this really affects, or the value of this affects it. Now, I didn't put in here any seeds into this, which you might want to have done so you can reproduce what I did. But changing the value from 0.5 got me a better model. I mean, to be able to make better predictions because I had this extra parameter floating around. And this is where this train, test, validate, or train, tune, validate, or train, tune, test actually works quite well because it allows you to pick out these other parameters. Now, some people say you should always do this, but if you don't have a hyperparameter, then who cares? Okay. If there's no hyperparameter, then nobody cares. And then you could just do the other ones that we've been looking at. All right. So this is giving us the ability to um, look at how we can do some cross validation in different ways for regression and for classification. Okay, so we're going to switch gears next time, and we're going to do what's called a randomization test. And this is a different approach to ANOVA than the one you've probably seen. It's kind of fun, and it's not on model validation. So we'll come back to model validation later, but we're going to keep using model validation under different scenarios in the future. But we'll worry about that then. All right, and I will see you in the next video.